And welcome back to the Real Estate on the Cheap Mini Challenge. My name is Nev, in case we've never met before, and I am excited that you are here. If you haven't watched any of the previous episodes when we started and talked about the mindset and started the conversation about money, I highly encourage you to go and watch those first, and then come back to this one and let's catch up. Now, we've talked about the importance of having investment fund. And again, that was done in a previous episode, so make sure you watch that. I've actually added a link right below here so that you can go and watch it. It is the step number one. In this particular video, I'm going to make an assumption that you're working on your investment fund or you already have it and you're ready to start taking next steps. Now, the next steps is to start thinking about this investment component. And don't worry, I will show you how we evaluate and do some of the work with that in the upcoming video. So this is a whole series of what we're doing and getting ourselves from not knowing anything about how do we get real estate on the cheap to being pretty darn good at understanding and knowing steps we need to take, where we need to go, and what do we need to do to be successful in this venture. So if you're ready, let's get started. Now, the assumption is, as I've mentioned, is that you have some investment funds already set up and that you're actively working on it if you don't. Now, the deal with these properties, let me explain what they are, because at this moment you're like, this is all great, but what the heck are these things and can I really trust it? So, as you know, as a property owner, we all have to pay certain bills. I know you're thinking like internet. No, that's not the bill I'm talking about. I'm talking a thing called taxes. We have to pay property taxes because if we don't, the government can basically find us in default and repossess our property. This is how these deals are created. Now, we have a few different deals that exist within this realm. They're known as tax liens, tax deeds, and what I like to call mutants, which is basically a combination of a lien that kind of turns into a deed. Let me explain the differences between the three. Now, the third one is obviously a combination of it, so I guess I'm explaining the differences between the two. Tax liens exist in certain states. Now, all of the states, all of the 50 states, well over 3,000 counties that exist in the United States, and most of Canada actually does this, and I believe that most of the developed world does this as well, but I haven't dealt in the other countries, so I can speak for US specific only. If you're coming from another place and you're looking to invest in your own country or different countries, then make sure you do your own due diligence and research of how that works in that particular space. We're going to be focusing on US. So there's over 3,000 counties in United States, 50 states, as you know, and each one of them has their own things of what they're doing. Some of the states is a statewide component of what they do. In some states, it's county by county. So in certain counties, we're going to go and down focus on counties now. In certain counties, they focus on what is known as tax liens. So if a property owner does not pay the taxes owed for that particular year after a set period of time, and it varies from state to state, from county to county, the property and the property owner are going to be in default, meaning that whatever they owe for those taxes is going to be sold at an auction. What happens is that in tax lien states, they take basically the amount that you own, they create a lien on the property, and they sell it for a particular investor return. So they will say, all right, the property owner A owes $5,000 on such property, and we're going to start bidding at 10%. So if you purchase this tax lien for $5,000, you will earn 10% every single year that the property owner does not pay. When they decide to pay or when they're looking to sell a house, in order to sell it, there's a lien on it. So in order for it to sell, the lien has to be satisfied, meaning you, as the lien holder, tax lien holder, you need to be paid. So not only will you get your $5,000 back, but you will also get 10% of that money if that's what it was sold at, and it's also going to come back with some of the penalties and some of the other components. So you are looking to make a nice spread on your money, nice return on your money. Now these range from county to county, from auction to auction, and not everything is 10%. In some areas, there are people that will go in and invest in tax liens, and they will go in and obtain them for as little as 1, 2, 3%. That works for them. In some of the other areas, you will notice that return on that investment can be as high as 24%, which is really, really good on it. Now, the interesting piece that also exists with the tax liens is that when you get into a tax lien, you want to make sure that whatever the lien is, that the property value is higher than that. Then most of the times it is, because most of the time our taxes are way less than the value of the property. That's the tax liens, and it's a great way to get into it if you're looking for basically a return, a solid return on the investment, but you're not looking to potentially own a property. So it's a nice sort of passive way to get paid on it. Now, the part that is really weird about it is you don't know when you're going to get paid. You could get paid, I don't know, 2 months from now. You could get paid 2 years from now. Most of the locales also offer that if there's a certain number of liens, so you can go and buy like a lien every single year. So say that the property owner A didn't pay a lien for 5 years. When they go and sell it, every year you can go in and buy the lien, buy the lien, buy the lien, buy the lien. And some of the counties, some of the states will also then allow that whoever is a lien holder, after a set period of time, they have a right, not an obligation, but a right to foreclose on the property owner, meaning that you can file a suit with the government and take over the property. That means that you can legally get into whatever the property is for pennies on the dollar. Of course, if the owner pays, now you get your money back plus the interest earned. Great way to make some money. Most people don't know about it. The second one is known as tax deeds. And this is very cool if you're looking to actually own the property right from the get-go. So some of them deal with liens, and we talked about that briefly. Some of them deal with deeds. And what they will do is say property owner A didn't pay their taxes after a set period of time. They will actually go and put it on auction, and the government will give you a deed to the property, meaning you will own it free and clear. Sorry about that. And you will be able to do whatever it is that you want to do with it. Typically, when we talk about the liens and the deeds difference, is that liens typically focus on the return on money, and very seldom, although it's possible, but very seldom you become a property owner. They also typically tend to start at a much lower prices. So they can start sometimes for as low as like 50 or $100, and they can obviously go up into the thousands. When we talk about the deeds, the tax deeds, also sometimes known as sheriff deeds or tax foreclosure deeds or that kind of stuff, then in those instances, they will start on the low end. I've seen it quite a few years back, would start at a few $100. Typically is few $1,000 and up. So you can expect to find when you go out and look for it for the liens, you can expect for a few $100 to be able to actually get some sort of lien, and you sit on it, and it's sort of like a bank in your drawer that just sits there and waits for the money to be collected. Or if they don't pay up, in that case, after the set period, you can foreclose on the property and become an owner of the said place. With the deeds, it's going to take a few $1,000. Sometimes you can get it for a few hundred. It's not very common. Typically, you need a few $1,000. And more commonly, we're seeing for some of the higher priced properties, you may need a few tens of thousands of dollars. So it might be 10, 20, $30,000. But when you buy it, that's not a down payment. You actually buy it for that sum of money. The piece to make note of is that when we deal with these, you will have to have cash to close, cash to finalize the process. So It's not a down payment. So you can't say, oh, I'm going to go for a tax deed of $30,000 and I'm going to put like $3,000 and then finance the rest of it. You might be able to do that by getting a loan from a private investor, from friends, family, strangers, neighbors, from the bank or whatever. So you can do it that way. But when it comes to actually purchasing it from the government, you will need to give them a full blown cash. Most of the time, this money is going to be through a bank transfer or the cashier's check. So you're not going to be delivering like cash. It's not going to like in the movies where you carry a suitcase, strapped to your wrist. It's going to be done through the bank or the bank's or the cashier check in order to pay for it. So it's going to need full sum of money, and you need to know that before you actually go and bid for it. Finally, when we talk about mutants, mutants are sort of interesting, and Texas actually comes to mind when we think about these. Now, for the liens, typically Arizona comes to mind. I don't know why, but it just does for me. Maybe because I live there. When we talk about the deeds, California is an example of the deed state. When we look at the mutants, Texas actually comes to mind. Now, mutants are very interesting because when you get it as a lien. After a set period of time, you then can convert that lien, converts automatically into the deed, and then you become the property owner. And on top of that, you're actually making really ridiculous returns on the money. Now that we understand what these different deals are, in the next episode, we're going to be focusing a bit more on where to find some of these deals. And we're also going to be talking about how to think about this and turning it into something like a business if that is what you want. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you hit bell notification, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.